I'm actually just going to wait for people to arrive before I sort of make a start tonight. But in the meantime, I just wanted to actually welcome all of our online viewers tonight. So for those of you here in the rooms, please don't be concerned about camera, microphone, etc. It's really just so that those who have tuned into our webinar can see exactly what you're seeing from the comfort of their own living rooms, especially for people who are a long distance away. It's a really, actually, it's a wonderful way for us to communicate with people who are actually, unlike you, can't come here because it's just too far away. I know we've got people tonight, and welcome to those who are watching us from, I know, Ipswich, Rockhampton, Toowoomba, all over Queensland, and we welcome you and thank you so much. Just to let you know that we will start shortly, so stay with us. Thank you very much. Won't be long.
You could check with people online to see if we've got audio, sound.
Yeah, for sure.
And Mel, you might want to type something in there. We'll just check how we're going.
Can I just ask those who are watching us online tonight if you can let us know via the chat feature, if you can hear, if the sound's efficient, and if you can hear what I'm saying to you right now, if you can just actually let Melanie know she's on the chat function tonight. And just so that you know, ask your questions through the chat feature throughout the course of the evening, because Melanie, Carol will attempt to answer all of your questions as we go through the course of proceedings tonight. And we'll be starting very shortly. Just give people time to arrive. Yes, I think this is excellent. Okay, I'm going to make a start. Come and sit down. No, come up the front. We don't bite. Seriously. Make yourselves comfortable on the comfy couch. All right. I think I'm going to make a start, and we'll just allow latecomers to join us as we go. My name's Felicity, and welcome to Weight Loss Solutions Australia. Thank you all very much for joining us here tonight. It's a pleasure to have your company. To all of you who are here with us, and also those who are watching our webinar online at home tonight, welcome. Tonight we've actually titled our information evening, Love Yourself, Lose Weight Forever. And you might wonder, why would I have given it a title like that? February is all about the month of love. You know, we all know that there's so much focus out there in the media about Valentine's Day. And I think, you know, one of the most important people that we all have a relationship with is ourselves. So, you know, choosing to put yourself first, it's all about how you see yourself, how you value yourself, what's important for you. And I think, you know, the gesture of, first of all, for you to walk through our doors tonight and to be a part of this information evening is a really big step towards, you know, what's important to you. And I think self-love is so, so important. That mindfulness about, you know, looking after yourself, your own health, that self-chatter and conversation that goes on inside your own head, that's so important. And I think, you know, in terms of strengthening our relationships with everybody else around us, that the relationship that we have with ourselves, first of all, is so vital. Do you agree? And so, you know, being here and putting yourselves first, congratulations, and welcome to this evening's information night. I'll just actually give you a little bit of a rundown about what we're going to cover this evening. And just, you know, make sure that you understand this information evening is all about you. It's an opportunity for you to ask questions and hopefully leave tonight as well equipped as possible with the information that you need to make a really well-informed decision about what you'd like to achieve for your future. So tonight I'm going to actually introduce you to all of our team members, and we have some patients joining us a little bit later who are going to share their own personal and individual journeys through their own weight loss procedures and how they've actually experienced it. And they're also happy to answer any questions also. So please interject, ask questions, make this your evening. One thing that I will ask you to do, first of all, those notepads and pens, they're for you to actually make notes, jot down any questions that you might have. But the first thing that I'd like you to do, just before I start to introduce you to the team, is put down on that piece of paper 3 things. If you could visualise your future self 12 months from now, what are the top 3 things that you'd most like to change about yourself, or that you'd like to see yourself achieve if you could be that person 12 months from now sitting in that chair? So just take a little bit of a moment to reflect and write that down. It could be something really simple. It could be about how you'd like to play with your kids or your grandchildren. It might be you'd really like to be able to sit in an economy class air seat and be comfortable to do up the seatbelt. You might be having trouble or struggling to tie your own shoelaces. You know, think about the things that are struggles for you as part of your everyday life now, and how you'd like to visualise and see yourself 12 months from now. And this is just something for you. It's an exercise for you to think about what that looks like and how is that going to be achievable. And I guess that's all about, you know, what does it mean for you to be thinking about a weight loss journey? We know that there are so many different reasons why we actually attend an information evening like this, and the things that take us to where we've got to lead to this point in our lives too. So that why is really important, I think, to consider and reflect on. And for those of you at home, do the same thing. Write those things down, maybe send a couple of those through to Melanie. Welcome, come on through and have a seat whenever you're ready. No, don't apologise. Very welcome. Okay, so one of the common things that you'll hear me talk about a lot is our not just our passion for what we do, but the team who actually are here to support you. And we're very focused not just on procedures, whether they be surgical or non-surgical, but also on support programs and making sure that we have a fantastic team to look after patients beyond that day of surgical intervention, because it's so much more than just about a procedure. And we've worked and developed and refined our programs here at Weight Loss Solutions Australia for over 14 years now. So that's why we have a whole team of people, including 2 nursing staff. We have a bariatric nurse who spends a lot of time on looking after the clinical needs of patients, whether it be gastric banding adjustments or consulting sessions with patients. We've also had in the past clinical trials. We are a clinical trial and research centre. So our bariatric nurse, Michelle, will also look after anything that's related to clinical trials in our centre. She's not here tonight, but she's one of the nursing staff team members that you will have an opportunity to meet. Carol is a registered nurse with many years of experience. Tonight, her role is actually going to be to give you a bit of a rundown of all of the procedures and how they work. So the technical information around how each procedure works and what to expect. That's what Carol's going to share with you tonight, but her role is also as our on reception, so fantastic support to be able to guide you through the whole process. Melanie is our patient relationship officer. She's busy chatting to people online at the moment, but tonight she's actually going to share her own personal story with you also, having been a patient and also a staff member here. Peter is our accredited practicing dietitian who's going to talk to you about the role of the dietitian in our clinic. Warren, our psychologist, is yet to arrive, and we also have a couple of patients who will be here shortly. Any questions on the format or expectations around what we're delivering for you tonight? No? Happy with all of that? All right. Probably one thing I'll just mention to you before Carol comes on and discusses each of the procedures is just to have some a moment to think about, why do we offer bariatric surgery? And I guess 15 years ago when we started this practice, we only had one procedure to offer patients. And it was in those days a one size fits all. It was only the gastric band. Still a really significant device and procedure that's available to be offered within the whole broad spectrum of a bariatric clinic offering. And now these days we've got so much more that we can offer patients. So it's a lot more individualised in terms of making sure that we match up best procedure for each individual patient. So above and beyond the band, you'll probably be aware that the gastric sleeve is a very popular procedure these days. So you'll hear Carol talk about that as well, and also the Albura intragastric balloon. So the first most important thing to think about is we're addressing medical issues when we're dealing with weight management and morbid obesity. And our goal is to also, always first and foremost to see what can we do to successfully help reduce any of the comorbid conditions that go hand in hand with being overweight, and convert people to become as healthy as possible for the future. And I think I'll let Carol give you more detail about the all of the medical conditions and the things that we're treating when we're managing permanent weight loss as she goes through talking to you about the procedures. Please make her welcome.
Thank you. Thanks, Felicity. Thanks, everyone, for coming. So tonight, as Felicity said, my role is to just basically give you an overview of every procedure that we offer here, which we offer 3 main procedures. But firstly, I'd just like to explain a little bit about these comorbid conditions that Felicity was talking about. So usually when we are carrying a little bit too much weight, often we can have a complication, if you like, or something that is impacting on our health that is, if we lost weight, would improve it. And that's what we call a comorbid condition. It lives together with our main condition. So the things, for example, type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, sleep apnea. For ladies, the polycystic ovarian syndrome and some infertility, back pain, just joint and ankle pain. All of those things can be at varying degrees impacting on your health, that with the loss of weight, no matter what procedure that you have, it's even believed that at diabetics, for example, if you lose 10% of your weight, so let's say you weigh 100 kilos for round figures, if you were to lose 10 kilos, that would improve your diabetes out of sight. So imagine how much those sort of conditions could improve with the weight loss. So that's the area that we come from, because we've seen firsthand so many people improve their health, which is just so important. So first of all, I'll start going through the procedures, and I'll leave the sleeve till last, but I'll start going through the what we call the non-surgical procedure first, which is the Albura intragastric balloon. This diagram here is exactly what the balloon looks like, or as an idea of what the balloon looks like. This is what the balloon actually looks like inside you when it's inflated. So the balloon is what we call, as I said, a non-surgical procedure. It is done via gastroscopy, so that's where the camera goes down the throat into the stomach, has a little look at the stomach. The balloon is put down as a deflated device, and once doctor has got it in the stomach, he will then inflate it with some coloured saline. So it's nothing in there that's going to hurt you. And the reason that it's coloured is that if at all there was any chance that this balloon was to leak, you would start passing urine that was fluorescent green. So you would know that there is a problem and would need to contact us. I've actually never seen that happen. So, but it needs to be done, as I'm sure you'd understand why, that we need to be cautious of anything that is done like that. So the procedure is done under what's called a conscious sedation. So it means that you are given some injections. I'll pass those around so that you can have a look. Thank you. Given an injection into the hand and you don't know anything about it. It's usually a day procedure. And afterwards with the balloon, you do feel quite nauseated. So that usually lasts anywhere between 2 days to maybe a week and a half. That's at the worst. I can tell you from my own personal experience, I've had a balloon. The nausea and those sort of effects that I had lasted 2 days, and then I was pretty well after that. Although still a little bit drowsy, but okay, I managed quite well. So the main thing with the balloon is that it stays in for 6 months, and during that time in 6 months, we hope that you will change habits, look at your eating pattern with the help of our dietitian and the psychologist, look at maybe starting an exercise program, and whilst you're losing that weight in the 6 months, that's also looking at how you're looking at food, mindful eating, all of those sort of things. When the balloon comes out after 6 months, then the following 6 months is taken up with the dietitian and the psychologist to consolidate all of that you've learned so that you can keep that weight off. Does that make sense? Okay. There's not really many complications with the balloon. The main thing is that if you're feeling quite nauseated, I'm not even sure of the statistics, but there are occasions where the balloon is just not agreeable for some people and they end up with so much nausea that it has to be removed. I think I've probably seen maybe one of those at our centre, so that's not too many, but I can't quote you the statistics because I like to have the evidence base to be able to do that. So I can just say that it's not very common, but it can happen. So the balloon itself, as you can see, is a pretty, for want of a better word, it's a simple procedure and it works effectively. For weight loss, we would expect to be somewhere around, on an average, 10 to 15 kilos. And we've seen the best at nearly 30 kilos to around 20 to 30 kilos in a couple of people, but mostly the average is somewhere between 10 and 15 kilos. The diet after the balloon, after you have it for the first week to about week and a half, you're on a graduated program of fluids, slowly increasing to soft purees and then onto a normal diet. So that usually takes about 2 weeks before you're eating smaller portions of normal food. Any questions so far about the balloon?
Do you have to go under again to get it out?
Yes, you do. So removing it, of course, it's inflated at that stage. And so it's a conscious sedation. It's a day procedure. And they would put the gastroscope into your stomach again. And then they have a special device that would deflate the balloon and then being able to withdraw it so that it's not going to, obviously not withdrawn as a whole. We wouldn't want that to happen. And you recover very well from that because once it's out, you don't have any effects of nausea or anything like that. Okay. If you do happen to have any other questions later on about it or it comes to pass, I'm here all night, so please don't hesitate to ask me or ask any of the others, okay? Okay, well, let's move on to the gastric band then. As Felicity said, the gastric band was the first thing that we ever had to offer many years ago. So 15 years ago when our centre first started here on the Gold Coast, that's all we had to offer people was the gastric band. You know, nothing else was available as here. So the gastric band has been around for a long time and it's also been a very successful procedure. It's a general anaesthetic that's needed. It's done by keyhole surgery. The band is a silicon-based type of material. I'm just going to try and open here, but I might not be successful at opening it. It isn't put down like that. It's put down open, and it goes around the top part of your stomach like this. And essentially what happens with the band is that it makes your stomach a bit like an hourglass so that your food goes into the top part and then it slowly digests into the bottom part of the stomach. As I said, it's done by keyhole surgery. You require 1 night stay in hospital. Attached to the band is what's called a port. And this little bit of tubing and this port enable the inside diameter of this to be adjusted. So that means a little bit of saline can be inserted into that to make it a bit tighter around your stomach, making the opening a little bit smaller. And similarly, it can also be withdrawn if you need to have it withdrawn. Okay. This port usually sits in the upper part of the abdomen here, so it can be felt when laying down, but not protruding. Okay, and that enables the nurse or the doctor to be able to adjust the band. So I'll pass that around so you can have a little look and see what it's like. The band, whilst it is totally reversible, is not something that is put in with the intention of removing it, because it's there to help you lose the weight. And what we find is that if somebody then wants to have their band removed, they've no longer got any restriction and it's quite easy for them to go back to old habits. So we don't usually put that in with the intention of removing it, but it is a totally reversible procedure. It does mean that you need to have a little bit more follow-up, because you do need to have regular adjustments to help you lose your weight. And during that time, the first adjustment is about 6 weeks after surgery. By that stage, you will have gone through the dietary process of the fluids to the purees to the solid food, and you're on solid food, and all of the swelling that's happening in your stomach has gone down and settled so that you're ready to have your first adjustment. The adjustments are somewhere between maybe 1 mil to sometimes only needing 1/4 of a mil when you're at that stabilisation stage. And we've seen here at this clinic anyone lose weight from sort of around the 20 kilos up to 135 kilos is the most that one of our lovely ladies has lost. And she still has her band 10 years later. So, you know, they're not, while some people can say, I don't really want to have the band, it's certainly still a very valid procedure, and it's a great procedure to help you lose weight. Okay. Return to work with the band is usually around about a week. Depending if you're going to do any heavy lifting or anything like that, you don't want to, you wouldn't want to go back to work if you're doing that sort of type of work for at least 2 weeks. Okay. Any questions about the band? No? Okay. Well, let's move on to the sleeve then. So the sleeve gastrectomy is this one here. The sleeve gastrectomy, just as a little bit of history for you, actually started off as the first part of a 2-part procedure. And the reason for that is that it was offered as the first part to a gastric bypass. I don't know if any of you have heard about a gastric bypass. The bypass is a little bit more involved than what is here at the moment. And what had happened was that they started to do the sleeve thinking, well, that would help people lose a little bit of weight so that the procedure is then a safer procedure and you can have this bypass done. But what they found was that people were going back for their operation and found this weight had gone down so much that they really didn't need to have the second part of the procedure. So they changed it a little bit and made it just a slightly smaller sleeve. So this part that's left in the stomach is slightly smaller, and it started off being a primary procedure. And since then it has worked really well, and we have a lot of people coming to us specifically for this procedure. It's done by keyhole surgery, exactly the same as what a gastric band is, but it needs to have 2 nights stay in hospital rather than the 1. The good part about the band, and I've got a couple of little about the sleeve rather, is that it's still a restrictive procedure. It's not what they call a malabsorptive procedure. So everything that you take in is still absorbed. Nothing is taken away that doesn't absorb. What is taken away in that main part of the stomach is one of those hormones that actually makes you feel hungry. And that hormone is produced in the stomach mainly, and it's called ghrelin. And so mostly those people who have a sleeve find that they are not hungry. So it's called satiety is much better after they've eaten. They don't feel like they're looking for food. They're not constantly snacking. Whereas sometimes if you eat, you sort of think, oh, I want to just have that little bit more. And even though you might not be hungry, it's a taste thing. That goes away. It just takes away that want or that desire for constant snacking. So this is still a restrictive procedure. It just restricts the amount that you are able to eat. Unlike the band, however, it restricts it in the vertical fashion, whereas the band restricts it more in the horizontal fashion. Okay. So it does, because of that hormone as well, it does take away the craving for food. So I'm sure that some of the patients who are here tonight might testify to that fact, that they don't crave some foods that they used to crave. So some may be previously craving sweets and they find that they no longer crave sweets, or others might be a little bit round the other way, that they might have been more of a savoury person and then they've gone for a little bit more sweet. But because they can't eat a huge amount, their weight still comes off. We've found that with both procedures, in fact, that diabetes in particular with the sleeve, and perhaps that's because of the quickness of the weight loss, that the diabetes seems to improve so much that it's not only some cases we've found that people are off their medication altogether, diabetes medication, blood pressure medication altogether. We've actually done this procedure for those who have had type 1 diabetes, and we found that their insulin, where they've been on insulin 3 times a day, has dropped down to even once a day. So whilst they'll never be off their insulin because they're a type 1 diabetic, the need for insulin has been reduced. So that's amazing. Yes.
I'm curious, is there an impact on any of these on people with thyroid, underactive thyroids as well?
That's a good question, because sometimes a lot of the people I don't know what percentage it is, but certainly we do have a lot of people who come to us with underactive thyroid, and it certainly does help them lose the weight. Their thyroid function tests, after we do monitor those tests, but I think that they still need to be able to take their thyroxine medication so that they can continue to have a normal thyroid function tests, but it doesn't stop them from losing the weight.
Okay.
Does that answer your question? Yeah. So back to the sleeve again, the 2-night stay in hospital is necessary because with the seam that goes down the stomach where they actually cut it away. So this procedure is not a reversible procedure, and because it's cut away, and even though the seam is done very well with these amazing guns that they have now, that they do 3 layers of stapling on both sides of the stomach, and it seals and staples and cuts all at the one time. But because of that, they want to make sure that there's no leaking. Doctor wants to make sure before you leave hospital that there's no acute leak or bleed or anything like that. So you have to have an X-ray the following day and stay in hospital for at least 2 nights.
So the possibility of leaking is just 2 days after the surgery?
No, the possibility of leaking would usually last for the first week to 10 days after surgery. That's the most acute phase. But the risk of that is 1%. Okay, so it's a low risk, but there is still a risk there. And it's the same with other surgery. If you're going to have your gallbladder out, there is a certain risk involved. So that's the risk that we have found. It's a very low risk, but it's something that you're made aware of, and doctor would definitely discuss that with you as well. And that's not only for leak, that's also for bleeding. Okay, and understandably, because you do have to cut the stomach, so yes.
And is there in all procedures a possibility of overeating, and could that create any problems there?
Okay, that's another great question. Thank you. So most people who tend to overeat with the band or try to overeat with the band end up in the bathroom.
Right.
So they usually bring it back up again because they just can't tolerate it. However, they can perhaps choose to have high calorie liquids and be able to put that down. So I have heard of people sadly vitamizing Mars bars in milkshakes to get, maybe it's a sweet craving or what it was, but certainly you can get that down because it's liquid.
Yeah.
So that obviously your weight loss is not going to be as good as what we'd expect if you're going to have that type of food. With the sleeve, it's not quite as forgiving. I think Melanie used to say that that if you tend to just overeat that little bit too much, it's not quite as forgiving and you'll feel quite uncomfortable and in a bit of pain. So, you know, it's saying, don't do that again.
Right.
Don't do that again. But also you can get those calories in liquid form. So that's why we've got the dietitian and the psychologist to go through with that, to talk about your mindful eating and to talk about the types of food that you're choosing and what's going to be best for you. And because you can only fit a small amount of food in, we want that food to be a nutritious choice, not something that is not nutritious. And similarly, I'd just like to add also for the balloon, sometimes different foods with each of the procedures, and this isn't across the board because everybody is an individual. But sometimes you could eat something that just doesn't quite sit right, and you might have to bring it back up again. It happened to me once when I had pasta. I thought that would be fine, but for some reason it just didn't sit well. It's the only time it happened, but it just didn't sit well for me. Somebody else might have had something else that had happened, so I just stayed away from it because I didn't want to go through that again.
Yeah.
And so it is a bit about changing our mindsets, changing the way we look at food, changing the way we think, well, if I'm going to have something like fish and chips, am I going to have the same as the family? I've got to chew it so well that the chips don't taste good anymore. It's not like that hot, crunchy, fresh chips that you might get. So do I want that, or I want something that's going to be a bit more satisfying to me, something that I'm really going to enjoy that's going to be nutritious, rather than something that's going to go, oh, yuck, I don't like that because I've chewed it so much. It, tastes ordinary. So it's really about thinking about different types of ways of eating and what's going to suit you better.
With the sleeve though, you know what you should be eating and how much, etc. But say down the track, you go back to old ways, say, or something. Is there a risk of it, stretching?
Stomach stretching?
Again.
Yeah, that's a really valid question too. Look, anything that you do, it can stretch a little bit. It won't stretch back to the size that it was though. It's just physically impossible to get it back. But you can, if you want to push it, you can continue to do that.
I wouldn't want to, but I'm just saying if,
But sometimes we have seen some people who've tried to, it's just habit, and habit's not going to change overnight. And that's why we want you to take advantage of the team that we have here. Their years of experience are so valuable. But yes,
it would
can.
basically just stretch.
Yeah, it would stretch a little bit, yes, but not as much as what you had. And usually that wouldn't even start happening till probably about 1.5 to 2 years down the track. But yeah, if you're not careful, it doesn't mean that you've got to be on a diet.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of being smart, I think, and wise with your food choices, because you've got that great tool now to help you. Yes.
Is there any pre-op stuff that you have to consider before that, in terms of preparing yourself or your body before doing any of these procedures?
Yes, definitely. So when you have all of your appointments with us, and the dietitian will come and speak to you a little bit about the dietary requirements, but we do like you to be on a pre-operative diet to prepare your liver. Your liver is such a big organ, and the doctor usually likes you to be on a very low-calorie diet prior to surgery, so that it makes it a safer operation than him to be able to get to the stomach more easily behind this big organ.
How you keep your energy up after the surgery, because you reduce the amount of food?
Yes.
That leads to decrease in your focusing and make you feel sleepy sometimes. How to make it up and keep it up as it is before the surgery?
Yeah, certainly. I think that it's probably better if I leave that question, if you don't mind, to the dietitian, because he's going to talk to you about the types of foods perhaps, and that's why we have him here. So he will look at explaining all of that to you. And it is a very real thing, but also I believe that your energy is actually going to come from a lot of the stores that you already have. So a lot of people will actually say they've got more energy after surgery than what they've ever had before, because they're not filling their body with a lot of food that's not necessary. And especially people who have sleep apnea, for example, that as their weight starts to come off and they're getting more oxygen, they're able to sleep better. They find that all of a sudden they've got so much more energy, because they're actually getting good night's sleep and more oxygen into their body. Okay. Right, I might leave it there, and then if you've got any other questions about the procedures, please don't hesitate to ask me later.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Fantastic questions. Keep them coming, because I actually think that you're all asking the kinds of questions that our people online are also appreciative of getting the responses to. So thank you so much for asking really valuable questions. Just to actually elaborate on your question as well, you know, the value of actually accessing the education that you get from a team over the first 12 months. We can only give you so much support and education and guide you as much as possible into making the most of those appointments. But I would strongly recommend that if you have a team here ready to support you and you're offered an unlimited opportunity to access your dietitian and the psychologist, if it was me, I'd be making the most of that, because that education is going to last you a lifetime. And it's so much more than just about losing weight for 12 months and the results that you're going to get at the end of 12 months. It's all about where would you like to see yourself in 5 years and 10 years from now. So that education will last you a lifetime, and accessing that will hopefully prevent you also from making poor choices, poor decisions about how you're going to look after yourself in the future. So that's where you're going to get, you know, so much more, and you don't learn all of that on day one post-surgery. We see so many wonderful stories in here, and the successes that we get to share with people and some of the resolutions of comorbid conditions are really, really fabulous to see. And just one that I'll mention that's come up a lot recently is for people suffering from not just polycystic ovarian syndrome, but with infertility issues, the role that weight loss and bariatric surgery can play in supporting that population. We've seen some really lovely outcomes with people who have eventually been able to then fall pregnant and go on and have you know, healthy, happy families. It's just one of the lovely things that I like to mention, that it's great to see that this is something that can help all of those people. There's a fellow online who's, before I go to the next speaker, Jason's actually online tonight and has been chatting with Melanie, and he's actually asked to, he's really curious to see one of our success stories. And we do have patients here who are here as guest speakers, but I'm just going to quickly introduce you to one, because I can't resist, because he's here actually to support a friend of his. But if Kirk, if you could just come up for 2 seconds. Kirk actually had his surgery just a little over 12 months ago, and I'm sure looking at him looking so trim and terrific like this, that you possibly can't even have imagined that he would have been a heavier person. Am I right? His weight loss total is 73 kilos. And he's recently just done something amazing that I'd like you to actually just talk about your most recent decision to do something amazing.
Just jumped out of a plane at 14,000 feet and survived, apparently. So,
is that something that you'd always wanted to do?
Yeah, forever. Just always been too big, so I finally got my goal and did it. That's fine.
Yeah, so
I'm doing it again soon.
Living to tell the story. So I just wanted to welcome you also here tonight, and thank you for coming along. It's great to see other patients here also coming along to support friends and family. Kirk has done absolute wonders for so many people in his immediate network, in his own office environment. How many of your colleagues have been here and had surgery?
Number 7's going on the 6th of February, I think.
Amazing, you know, just to help a whole workplace environment through sharing his own success and helping other people is just phenomenal. Great. Thank you so much for coming. We might actually get you up here again shortly. Thanks so much for being here. All right, I'd like to actually move on to our dietitian team member to give you a bit of a rundown on what to expect when you come in to see our dietitian, and what does it mean to connect with that with your dietitian over the 12 months post surgery. Peter, come and take the stage. Please make him welcome.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for giving me some time to share with you. I just want to let you know that I'm the food police in this place, and we check bags every day that you come through. And
See the staff's in trouble.
you see our fridge? No. And no, if you do decide to, embark along this journey, I do need to stress there's definitely one food that you can't eat, and it's fruitcake, because we are what we eat. And I don't want a room full of fruitcakes. Okay? Thanks. My 7-year-old always laughs at it. But. So it's a mammoth journey. Don't let anyone think that it's an easy way out. Losing weight, utilising these sort of procedures. There's a very real term called food grief, a food funeral. It's definitely a transforming situation where you allow your body to go through. And my role here, and Bonnie, who's the other dietitian, she's a female, not as well, but she's a female, a dietitian as well. And there's probably two ways on looking at our support for you. The first aspect is the practical aspects in regards to the early stages, making sure someone asked about the pre-surgery situation. So it is a strict diet, and leading up to surgery or procedure, a lot of people say it's one of the hardest aspects. But considering you've all been on a diet, I'd imagine, it's only a couple of weeks, so it's okay. And there's definitely a positive outcome at the other end. So it's a couple of weeks generally of a pretty strict diet. Then you go in, and then we work with you through your body getting used to having either a device in there or having a new stomach. So we work with you for your body to get used to that, and making sure you're eating sensibly, not to do anything silly, and you really, with a lap band or a sleeve or any of these procedures, you really shouldn't have to be dependent on vomiting regularly. That's, you do hear horror stories, but with the right environment, the right style of eating, there's no reason why that should happen. So we support you through the early stages, but then also there's the aspect of a lot of people, say for example with the sleeve, a lot of people, they wake up after the surgery and they just, what they previously liked, they now just can't even think of eating it, and what they didn't like, they actually, I could have a go at this. So there's been a reset on their switch with regards to taste and their preference to food, and it's often really used to their advantage. For example, a guy in our 6-week post-op group session last week, he said when he had tasted some orange juice, he thought he was drinking condensed milk. Just because there's such a change in their taste buds. They seem to be heightened. So it's definitely something to take advantage of. And leading up through the long-term aspect, it's just not dieting with regards to these procedures. Just not like that anymore. The dieting aspect is when you're trying to restrict intake or try and eat better. These procedures do that job for you. They create that restriction. So you're not having to work at willpower to try and cut things back. What I notice for people going through this journey, instead of being on a diet, having a diet mentality, they're actually looking at food in a whole new way. They're actually, what can I eat that's only a quarter of a cup? Because that's, for example, for the sleeve, that's all you can stomach in the early stages, a quarter of a cup as a meal. And that's pretty hard to get your head around when you're used to eating a little bit bigger than that. So it's definitely a restrictive procedure with regards to how much you can tolerate. So imagine just having a quarter of a cup and think, what are you going to eat for a meal? And most people actually think, what am I going to nourish my body with such small amount? So they'll actually be opting for nutritious foods. And often, like Carol mentioned before, things like your hot chips just don't give you that enjoyment factor anymore, because they just don't. And so you would actually opt for a bit of protein. And it's surprising how many people actually love salad. And salad is one of those things that are really nourishing and easy to go down, surprisingly, with these procedures, particularly when you're in the habit of chewing well and having a relaxed mealtime. So sort of digressing a bit. So there's sort of the two aspects of our support, is the practical aspect, but then also the coaching aspect and assisting you being a new person and having a new relationship with your food. That's definitely what happens. You're a new person with your relationship with food. There's a sort of a divorce, and then you get to marry again, and you and food are a new relationship. And you sort of have to do that if you want to be if you want to get to a weight or to be at a healthy place. So that's good. So we support you with that. And so practically there'll be things like a 6-week post-op group session, which is absolutely fantastic, because getting together with like-minded people, it really you really encourage each other, and just knowing that you're not the only one who's having trouble just sipping water. So you get to share the journey, and we have shopping tours. As you're told, we can catch up with you unlimitedly, either through Skype, phone consults if you're out of town, or if you just need to touch base. Emails have been really helpful, just for some questions, and you've also got us in person as well. So there's no reason to not remain in contact, because as I said jokingly, I'm not the food police. That's not what we're doing. We're actually encouraging, and a lot of people get stuck in a rut with their food choices, say particularly with a band, they're getting worried about certain tolerances. So we're actually, well, how about this, or how about, we actually sort of talk about through getting the most out of these things. You're investing significantly into this, so you want to get the most out of it. So my encouragement is definitely utilise our support, because you'll generally get some helpful advice, hopefully, but we'll find out. That's good. So plenty of support networks here for you. There was a question about the thyroid. Definitely the thyroid function appears to improve as people lose weight. A lot of the GPs actually have to continue monitoring that and lower the thyroxine or Roxin, whichever you're taking. There was another question. I forgot what it was.
The energy.
The energy levels, yeah. So energy levels. Well, obviously you're having major surgery, say particularly for the sleeve. So there is definitely a recovery period with that. But when you get into a pattern of taking your supplements and eating regularly, and your body's getting into the habit of actually using its own energy levels, most people report an increase in their energy levels. So after the recovery period, which varies from people to people, the younger you are or whatever, there's variations in recovery periods. But once your body's in the habit of utilising its own reserves as energy, and you're supplementing appropriately, which is a big one, you do need to make sure, well, bear in mind, say for the sleep, for example, you have to expect that you're taking a multivitamin for the rest of your life. And a B12 is a very important nutrient in that as well, which is related to energy. So that's important. I need to tell you that. Yeah. The pre-surgery diet is generally primarily not to see if you've got a dieting, but to shrink your liver and make surgery less risky, which is very important. That's good. Any other questions food-wise? Yeah, relating to pre or post, or worrying about certain tolerances, or some people worried about tolerating any foods. Yeah. All good? Great. Well, I'll be around if you have any questions. Let's have a chat.
Thank you. I think I should just clarify one thing about the shopping trip. It's not going shopping for bargain basement hunting of shoes, clothes, in case you're wondering. It's actually a supermarket tour. So it's learning how to read labels, etc. I'm not sure if that was clear. I'm sure in Peter's mind, a shopping trip is all about going shopping for food. For me, it might be more about shoes. But anyway, the supermarket tour is actually a really, really good thing to do, because it gives you an opportunity to learn so many different things about how to shop and what to look for, and reading labels, and if you're someone who suffers from any food intolerances, and what kind of things might actually stimulate or aggravate those issues, then Peter can actually go through and walk around and go through, or any of the dietitians, to talk to you about how to actually look for things that you might not be aware of. So yeah, it's a great, worthwhile experience, and something that we add in as something that we like to offer you. We also do cooking classes. As part of the extended opportunity to engage with our team, cooking classes are actually really a lot of fun. And it's all about teaching you new things, different recipes, things that you might not have thought about before. One of our other team members who works on reception, Michelle, is a qualified chef, and so she will work with guest chefs and our dietitians to put together the cooking classes. So just something to put, to look out for. When you see things that are offered for as part of the patient journey, they're really well worth taking on board and getting involved with. We like to do all sorts of different things. In fact, this year we're introducing a going out to dinner event, because we find that a lot of people actually are concerned about what's life going to be like in a social situation, and what's it going to be like when I go out for dinner. How am I going to cope with that? So we thought it would be nice to get a group of people together and actually go out to dinner and start to sort of focus on, rethinking about, social life and what does that look like, because it doesn't end, it actually is a new beginning. So all those sorts of things are things that we love to get involved with. I'd now actually like to move on to introducing you to another very important team member. It is really, really important that you think about what is the relationship I'm going to have with the person I'm seeing in each and every context as you go through the process of consulting with our team. The psychologist team member is a really important part of our team, and I'd like to introduce you now to Warren to give you a bit of insight into what does that look like when you consult with him and come through our centre. Please make him welcome.
Thanks, everybody. I'm one of two psychologists here we have at practice. We have Kerry as well, a female psychologist. And, give you guys at least an opportunity, perhaps if you feel more comfortable with a female psychologist. And then again, of course, if you feel more comfortable with a male psychologist, so you have both options. And that's important to us, because we want to make sure that when we work with patients that we're in a position to establish a really good therapeutic relationship with our patients. And part of that means, really working with you in what suits you, and tailor-making your journey, so to speak, to help you get the best possible results you can from surgery, and also to improve lifestyles and certainly relationships with food, so that again we can get the best possible outcomes. So I've been with practice probably for about 8 years now, and a little bit louder. Yeah, okay, sorry. For about 8 years, and I was originally with practice at Champlain Hospital. And to date, I've probably seen about 2,500 people go through this process. And we've had auditoriums back in the days when we used to get anywhere upward of 60 to 100 people presenting for our open nights or information nights. So, as I said, probably 2,500 people is my rough estimate of how many I've worked with to this point. And as you can imagine, I've been exposed to people from all walks of life and all cultures and backgrounds and different jobs, and certainly lived and come from different areas. And I've learned a lot from the patients, in fact. So I can assure you I've probably learned a lot more from the patients that told me I ever learned from a psychology book. So I think probably the best way to look at my role, as Felicity said, is the support network, and an opportunity for you to come in and talk about anything that's potentially interrupting your journey. Okay, it's not always and only about trying to get, change behaviors and lifestyles. It's, that's really a given. It's a bit of a cliche in this sort of market where we talk about lifestyle change. And yes, it's important. What's really, really important is how do we improve our relationship with food? And how do we, and what sort of support network do we have? And who are these people that are around us that we live with and see on a day-to-day basis? Are they positive influences, or are they potential negative influences? So we're sort of looking at how do we map your journey over the next 12 to 24 months. And to do that, I need to know as much as I possibly can about you. So when you come in, it's not an opportunity for you to hold things back. It's an opportunity for you to actually spill everything out. Let me know everything about your life. Let me know who's there, who are the relationships, what do you do for a living, what's your work-life balance like. So that we can strategize a little bit about what sort of level of support do we need to provide to you as a patient to help you get the best possible results. Okay, there is a trend in this area at the moment where patients are typically favouring sleeve as a surgical option. And thing to bear in mind with something like a gastric sleeve is it's a permanent and irreversible procedure. So that means that we really have to focus on getting the results we're looking for, you and I, and the rest of the team from the procedure. When we meet for the first time, it's generally an hour meet, roughly about an hour, and we'll get a chance to talk about all those things. From that, that initial assessment or appointment, I write up a report which goes to the surgeon and it's available to the rest of the team. There's pretty much open disclosure within our practice so that everybody can understand a little bit about you. And we work very strongly as a team, collaborating, to try and help find the best ways and means to help patients. So the first time you'll see me after surgery is around 6 weeks. So Peter and I, or Bonnie and I, whoever's here on the day, we run what we refer to as our group post-operative session. So it's in our rooms here again. So everything is done in-house. It's one of the unique things about our practice is that we have everybody under one roof. You come to one location, you get to see everybody here. Whereas you may find with other clinics that sometimes, they tend to outsource with the dietitian, psychologist. So there sometimes can be a little bit of a loose attachment in terms of managing patients. Okay. So 6 weeks, that's our group session, and you may be in the room with 4 or 5 other patients. Now, group session is not for everybody. You may find that this is not something you want to engage in. You'd much rather have a one-on-one consultation with both myself and Peter, and you can do that. Okay, so we don't force you into the group session, but I do see it as a really valuable exercise because it actually brings like-minded people together. So you're in a very natural, like-minded environment that is unbiased. And, you're sharing your story, and you have the opportunity to at least share your story and what's got you to this point and what direction you're hoping to take and what this all really means for you. But some people have gone through some very similar challenges, okay? And it's all around the same time. So you probably all have a similar procedure around the same time. So you're getting to that group session around 5, 6, maybe 7 weeks post-op. So you've probably also been through the most challenging phase of your surgical journey. So it gives us a chance to also then present to you some other responsibilities that we'd like you to start looking at that particular point. And one of them is obviously exercise. So for me, I talk about finding that motivation for exercise, but where we all need to start. It's something that's quite generic that generally works for everybody. So that's the opportunity that you have at 6 weeks. Following that, we'll talk again. You'll get an opportunity to talk to the dietitian at 3 months, me at 6 months, the dietitian again at 9 months, and me at 12 months. And they're kind of strategically scattered like that as a generic system, where you may feel like along your journey that you're doing really, really well, and you're kind of reluctant to come in because you don't feel there's any necessity to come in. But it's really important to come in and re-engage with us because it just kind of reminds you what resources you have available to you to help you on this journey so that you don't get lost or feel like you've lost your way at any particular point. If you feel like you want to come in and see us more often, you have that opportunity as well. So you can come see us in between those scheduled generic visits. And as I said earlier on, maybe just something that's work-related or relationship-related or, something personal that you want to talk about with somebody, and that at least gives you the opportunity to deal with that issue right there and then. And to be honest, your journey is no different to somebody who's a sports professional who's trying to look at winning the next tournament or an event, or their journey can be implicated by personal problems as well. Okay? So I think that's probably the best analogy I can make in terms of my role as more of a sports psychologist in this environment, because you have a goal, just like a tennis player has a goal, or a golf player has a goal. So, really trying to find a way to reach that goal and making sure that the steps we take there to get to that point are realistic and achievable, sort of mini steps. So that just kind of gives you a brief outline of what you can expect when you see me. And if you feel like you need extra support, that's obviously in the first 12 months. If you feel like you need extra support in the second 12 months of your journey, because some people continue to lose weight. You'll lose the majority of your weight in the first 12 months, but you may still lose weight in the second year. And you certainly may still have some challenges in the second year. And, you feel like it's something you want to, share with us in our practice, then we can always send your letter off to your GP and request that they put you on a care plan. And just because we put you on a care plan doesn't mean you have a mental problem. Okay, it just gives us an opportunity to work closely with you, collaboratively with your GP as well, and have a team care arrangement with the dietitian potentially as well, to we can all kind of look after and we can share information. Okay. One of the really important things, as I mentioned right at the beginning, is improving our relationship with food. And years and years of dieting tends to actually be a catalyst for a poor relationship with food. And that's one of the things that we definitely like to talk about. Try and find ways and means to improve that relationship. Because at the end of it, the food's not going away. And nor is the food that you have a poor relationship with. So that food's going to be there all the time, and you're better off having a better relationship with it than trying to avoid it. Okay. All right. Any questions? Sorry.
You're allowed to ask questions. No?
Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Hopefully you're getting a feel for how important it is and how valuable it is to consult with the fantastic team that is presented to you to support you along the journey for the first 12 months and beyond. And it's something that we really pride ourselves on, but we're also very passionate about. We actually were involved in the very first worldwide research that proved that follow-up attendance to consultations post-bariatric surgery equates to better long-term outcomes, specifically in relation to weight loss. And Carol actually was responsible for putting that research together with a dietitian around about probably over 10 years ago.
Now, I think.
And it was the very first research of its kind to be presented in the world. Carol went off to present that in America at one of the largest bariatric surgical meetings. And since then it's been published and picked up by other groups who've done some investigations into that, and we really hold that belief so firm because we know that it's actually going to bring you really positive long-term results. So yeah, very important for us to invest in having the best possible support team around you, as well as the best technical surgeon available as well, which is also key, that you know that the surgeon who's going to be operating has seen everything possibly there is to see when it comes to management of bariatric patients. So that's key, and we're very fortunate and proud to be able to offer all of those components for you as patients. All right, I think we're actually now up to the exciting part of the evening, which is to introduce you to some of our very generous patients who've come along to share their own personal journeys. And just for the sake of balance, we've got the men and the women to present to you tonight, so we've kind of covered everything. I think it's always really nice. Women love to hear from a female patient who's been through the process, and for the men, it's also really lovely to hear from a guy who's been there, done that. So I'd actually like to start with introducing you to Janine. And Janine, at 6 weeks post-op, was absolutely jumping out of her skin, and she actually did her first presentation to a group of people like you when she was only at 6 weeks post-op, because she had so much to share about where she was at that point in time. And she's now just over 12 months post-op. So it's great to have her back to be able to share where she's at now and to give you a bit of insight into her journey. Please make Janine welcome. Thank you so much.
Well, I was sitting where you were sitting 12 months ago. I do have one regret. I should have done this sooner. Best thing I've ever done, and it's changed my whole life. You hear that all the time, it's changed my life. It really has. I'm off all medication. I was on depression pills, blood pressure pills. I'm off all that sort of stuff now. My whole life's changed, as in I can go to a normal shop and buy sexy bras and sexy things at half the price that I used to have to pay when I was bigger. This is my biggest photo, these photos here. I was pretty big. I was 122 kilos when I started. So I've still got a bit to go, and I'm not in a, what's the word? I'm taking my time so it stays off, but I've lost about 34 kilos. It was hard. It's not an easy fix by any means, but if you put your mind to it, it really does work. All my taste in food have changed. I now love tomatoes and avocados. I can't get enough of that. Whereas I used to go to KFC and McDonald's or Hungry Jack's on the way home every day. And you know, when you can look at yourself in the mirror and you can't see yourself getting bigger and bigger, but everybody else can. I still saw myself this big. So it saved me a lot of money on takeaway, medication. So in the long run, it was really worth having the operation. My kids are a little bit upset because they don't get to eat McDonald's and Hungry Jack's very often anymore. But my treat is if I go out, I no longer eat McDonald's, Hungry Jack's or KFC because I just can't stand it. I will go out and have a Vietnamese, one of those fresh rolls, or I'll have some pho or, you know, something nice and healthy. I no longer crave lollies, chips, takeaway. All I think about is tomatoes and avocados. My husband thinks I'm a freak. And every time I just walk past that, I'm like, oh my God. So yeah, some of the food that I used to eat, my stomach doesn't really like it anymore. With my meats, I've always got to have it chopped up quite finely and chew. Because if you eat things really fast like I used to, which when I first had the operation and I was able to eat solid foods, I just shoved it in my mouth and went, oh, what did I just do? And I tell you what, if you overeat, you certainly know about it and you only do it once. And I only did it once because I learnt my lesson. So eat slowly, chew your food. You make better choices after you've had it because you just don't want to eat the wrong foods and you don't have the cravings there anymore. What else was there? When I was sitting here, I was out up the back hiding and I'm thinking, oh, I really want to ask that question. You know, how long it takes to recover, can you drive, all that sort of stuff. So after I had the op, I was wheeled back into the room and felt no pain whatsoever. Some people are different, but I felt nothing. All I did was had a little bit of a headache and that was from the anaesthetic. I was up walking around, having a shower, doing whatever. I was there for 2.5 days, I think it was, and then someone drove me home on the Saturday morning. I drove myself back to the coast on Sunday, which I probably shouldn't have, but I did. I was able walking around, all that sort of stuff normally. I just didn't lift up heavy things and stuff like that, that it would affect my wounds. Now, also with your where you get operated on, the scars are about that big. One there, I think one here, and maybe one around the side. You can hardly even see them, okay? What else was there? So I went back to work. I did it over the Christmas holidays. So I had the public holidays off and then I went back on the 1st of June. So it was about roughly 10 days before I went back to work. I have quite a job where I walk around and do a lot of lifting and stuff like that. And I ended up telling my bosses what was going on and they were fine. What else was there? Anyone I want to, yes?
What surgery did you have?
Oh, that's a good one. I had the sleeve. So it's worked really, really well for me. I've still got a little bit more weight to go, but I'm not stressing about it. I'll just slowly just work at it. I still go out to restaurants. I think I was 2 weeks after the operation and I was invited out to dinner. So you were still on the liquid, so I had soup. If I go out, I only order an entree because you can't fit anything else in. And most of the time you only half the entree anyway. So I always take it home and have it for the next meal. So it's really cheap to go out. And if I'm out with friends, a lot of my friends know and I haven't had any negative comments. I think I've had one the whole time, and it was someone said to me, "Oh, you've taken the easy way out." Believe me, it wasn't easy. It was quite hard to, especially that first stage of, you know, the liquids and mushy stuff. Yeah, I didn't cope well with the mushy stuff. But anyway, and if I never see any mushy stuff again, that'd be really, really good. But so going out's fine. I have drunk alcohol when I've gone out and I've had a couple, and that's all I want. I don't want any more. I'm not a big drinker or anything like that. One thing I don't drink anymore is this soft drink. For some reason, the bubbles don't agree with me. So I just don't drink the soft drink and I don't miss it. What else is there? Anybody want to ask me any more questions? Come on.
You've answered all the ones I was going to ask.
How long were you a big person? How many years?
Oh, after I had my kids, I had nearly 11-pound kids, and I never seemed to have dropped away. So my eldest one's turning 19.
So my follow-on question to that is, you would have already had what I like to call a soft stomach.
Yes.
How did you deal with the excess skin as you were losing weight?
Well, I sort of cheated because I had a tummy tuck sort of 8 years ago. I had that really big from my kids, and I got that done. Yeah. So I don't really have that excess. The thing I do have is this, and I always wear long shirts. But when I get down to my goal weight, my husband said he's going to get that removed for me, which will be great.
So he's going to do that.
So that's probably my only thing. To tell you the truth, I haven't done a lot of exercise. I've done a bit of walking here and there, but I haven't gone to the gym and did weights or any of that sort of stuff, which probably would have helped me a little bit better. I work up in Brisbane, so by the time I drive up there and come back, it's quite late and I'm tired.
So how are your energy levels?
Who said that? Oh, I'm fine. I'm fine. The first few weeks, it was like, you know, when that first 3 months you're pregnant, you just want to, it was like that. Okay. But then you get over it. So, yeah, energy levels are fine. I don't have any problems with that sort of thing at all. Yeah. I do lose a bit of hair, girls. But it does grow back. It does grow back. So I don't know if it affects the guys. Does it affect the guys?
No, not at all.
So yes, you do.
Had the extreme case.
So yes, you do. You lose a bit of hair, but I take hair skin and stuff from my hair, and it does come back nice and shiny. And yeah, you always got lots of growth. So yeah. Anybody want to ask me anything else? But if you really think about it, just do it, really. It will definitely change your life. My mum's a big lady, and she said to me, I wish I was younger so she could have done it with me.
Can you hand your photographs around?
Oh, yeah. That was about, I think, 6 months, maybe. Yeah.
What's your goal weight? Where do you want to be?
Look, I'm sitting at about 87 kilos now. I'd be happy at 80, which is what I was before I was pregnant. Okay. I don't want to be a skinny mini or anything like that. I'm quite happy I'm even happy with the way I am now. So I've still got my boobs, which is great.
I am going to ask a question, and I don't know whether it's, but in terms of your hormones and affecting your hormones and the way you feel in terms of your relationship with your husband and stuff like that, was that affected or?
No, if anything, it's affected him because now he's chasing me around the bedroom. So, you know, when you're bigger, you don't feel like sexing or anything of that. Am I allowed to talk about this?
Yeah, sure. It's a big question.
So you don't feel like it, but I tell you what, once you start losing the weight, woohoo! So yeah, it does change that way.
Okay.
So,
What times he needs to get home?
that's it. I'm done. So yeah, it's
Is that the answer you're looking for?
Oh no!
Was that
Great, thank you. Yeah.
So, I mean, your whole thinking just changes.
Yeah.
You know, you're a totally different person.
And I guess what I was trying to ask was, does that all your relationships with your husband, with children, whatever, change as well in terms of how you deal with things? Because I know for me at this moment, it's about my weight, and because I'm not comfortable within myself, and then everyone kind of cops that because I'm already
You're
tired,
cranky,
work.
yeah.
So it's kind of like a domino effect almost, like.
Well, my eldest one actually turned around and said to me, "Mum, you're not a bitch anymore." And I went, "Oh, really? Was I really one?" Yep. So yeah, because you're so unhappy with yourself,
Yeah.
It does change you. I'm much more happier. I cope with work better, less stress. Yeah, it does. It's a huge improvement. Yeah. So watch our husbands when you get it done. So anybody else want to ask me anything?
Okay then, staying on that. How long after surgery can you do that sort of thing? A week.
There you go. Well, I was still quite big, and it was probably, I don't know, 15 kilos. Yeah, it drops off you pretty quick. But now I'm like a little rabbit. So yeah, so yeah, it's all well worth it. And ladies, and gents, if you're really thinking about doing it, you've got to do it. It has changed my life, and there's ways you can pay for it and all that. I actually used my super, and these guys helped me with getting my super. And it didn't take long, and I went to, what's that hospital? The Wesley, and that was just like a 5-star hotel. It was beautiful. And
Nice
I
river
had,
view.
Sorry?
Nice river view, were you on that side?
No, I had City View, I think it was. But, and I had Dr. Adib, and he's just a sweetheart, and he's hot.
I'm writing that down.
So, yeah.
ADIB.
Alrighty.
You said you did the surgery on Saturday. You said that you
No,
did the
I had it on the Thursday, and I got out on the Saturday. Is that
Yeah.
what you said?
Yeah. Would you be able to go to work on Monday next?
No, it was it was the following Monday I went back to work. I probably could have, but if you got a physical job or something like that, you wouldn't. Yeah, but because I can sit in an office and just do nothing else. Nothing, but yeah, well, so, it's nice. So, yeah. All right.
Thank you very much. That was definitely not scripted. I love the honesty of Janine's presentation and how fantastic to come along and share her story openly like that. Fantastic. Love it. I think I've lost my train of thought almost.
A bit flustered. Got me now.
What in here? All right. We're getting some feedback from the online viewers at the moment.
They're loving it.
They're loving it. Excellent. All right. I actually was just thinking that when we do organise our going out to dinner with our patients, when we start to get into that process, I think Janine would definitely need to be on the guest list to come along and join us for that. I'd now like to just introduce you to Richard, who is going to share with you from a male position what it's been like for him having had the sleeve. He's a little bit earlier on in his journey post-operatively, only around about 3 months now. 4 months. So he's also got a fantastic story to tell. Please make him welcome.
I'm only 4 months, so I haven't got to the stage of, going to the shops and getting the fancy bras and so I've got that to look forward to, obviously. My motivation for having the surgery was health related, and I had I'm a single dad, and I brought up my 14-year-old son since he was 4 on my own, and it's been very complicated and extremely stressful with some of the family stuff that's gone on, and all of that stuff combined and carrying too much weight, ended up having some very significant health issues. And I chose to have the gastric sleeve as well. And as I said, I had my surgery on the 19th of September last year. And so I'm only just past 4 months. And to be honest, I actually don't know how much weight that I've lost. But what I do know is that when I came in and saw Dr. Adib, I didn't notice that he was hot, but however, there was one nurse at the Wesley. But so when I saw Dr. Adib the first time in, I think it was late August, I said to him, if I had the surgery in, sort of mid to late September, how much, because I was going back home, I'm from Melbourne originally, I was going home at Christmas. And I said to him, how much weight could I realistically plan to have lost by Christmas? And he said from September till December, he said about 30 kilograms. And I thought, you're having me on. You just want me to sign up and have the surgery. Like that's a sell job. And he goes, no, I'm serious, 30 kilograms. So when I decided to have the surgery, I set that as my goal. And like I said, what I do know, I was a bit ticked off because I weighed myself on Christmas Day and I was that far short, but Boxing Day I got there. So on Boxing Day I hit 30 kilograms that I'd lost. But my big goal was to get off the medication that I was on. I had type 2 diabetes and high blood pressure, cholesterol, like all the stuff that goes together. And after 2 months, I was off 5 out of the 7 medications, the prescription medication that I was taking. Now that to me was what it was all about. And when I came back and saw Dr. Adib for my follow-up consultation, I said to him, and this has kind of become my mantra now, that not only have I had years added to my life, but I've also had life added to my years. I'm now dragging my son down to the beach to play cricket and kick the foot in, all that sort of stuff, which previously I was, I just didn't have what it took to go and do that as an active dad, but now I do. And also business-wise, I'm just much clearer in my thinking, much more creative, all those sort of things just have improved out of sight. One of the big things for me, and the most important thing is to work out your personal why. Why is it that you want to lose however much weight or whatever it is you want to achieve? You've really got to be clear on what your why is. And my why was to get off the medication. But one of those other little things that I had on my list, and I achieved that at 3 months, was to actually buy trousers off the shelf that didn't need to be taken up, because I reckon it looked really dicky when I had my, the hems taken up. I hated that. And that to me was like a real moment when I bought that pair of jeans that I didn't have to have adjusted, just bought it straight off the shelf. The other thing is, prior to your surgery, make sure and find a good op shop, because you don't want to go buying new clothes too quickly, because as soon as you get them, you need to go down a size. And I've gone down 4 sizes in shirts and in trousers, and it really happens unbelievably fast. So when I first came down probably a size or 2, I got all excited and bought some t-shirts and stuff, and my son told me I looked like a dickhead about 2 weeks later, because it's like I was wearing a circus tent or something, and he told me that I had to go and get, in fact, even the place where I buy my coffee, the girl there told me about 2 months after I had surgery, she sort of took me aside quiet and she said, you need to get some new shirts, they're too big. And, you know, which was great. It was, I felt that was fantastic. So all sorts of positive changes, but, you know, it's really, and as I said, I haven't actually monitored. I would be guessing that I've probably lost somewhere between 32 and 35 kilograms, probably somewhere in that vicinity in 4 months. But as I said, my goal was once I hit, you know, 30, by Christmas, that was what I was really wanting to do. And since then, I haven't worried too much because I'm off my medication, and that was what really mattered to me. The only other thing is, the other goal that I have is that I turned 50 in October, and I decided that it would be fantastic if at 50 I could go back and play cricket, go back and play outdoor cricket. I'm still playing indoor cricket, but I thought it'd be really good. And I did in fact, the game before Christmas, I got the best bowling figures for the game, and also the highest partnership in batting for the game. So my cricket's improved down the side, so it was worth it just for that. So I'm hoping next season to go back and play outdoor cricket again. But I noticed, and the guys that bat with me were saying that they've noticed how much quicker I'm running between the wickets. And a little while ago when I was shopping, in the supermarket, I picked up one of those, you know, the 10 kilogram bags of rice. And just as a, you know, curiosity thing, I actually carried that. I probably looked like a real moron, but I carried that bag of rice around with me while I did my shopping. And at that stage, I'd lost 20 kilos. And I thought, I've lost 2 of these, and everywhere that I had been walking before, I was carrying 2 of those everywhere I went. And that includes playing cricket. Every time I run up and down the pitch, I'm carrying 2 of those big bags of rice with me unnecessarily. Can you imagine what it's like doing everything in life, not having to carry those 3 bags of rice around with you? And I would encourage you, next time you're at the supermarket, go to the rice aisle and pick up one of those 10 kilogram bags, and imagine what it would be like for you, whatever your weight objective is, that if you didn't have to carry that around with you. And one of when I came off my blood pressure medication, which was about the same time that I picked up that bag of rice, the doctor was just staggered. He actually took my blood pressure twice because he couldn't believe that it had improved so much. But I had this, I'm quite visual, which is really scary when I was listening to Janine talking. A visual person, that wasn't right. But after I'd been to the doctor, I was visualising that what was actually happening, and I suddenly understood what all the talk about heart problems and all that is. I thought what I was doing to my heart was the equivalent of lying on the floor with 2 of those bags of rice on my chest, and every time my heart beat, it had to push those 2 extra bags of rice every time my heart beat. That's what I was doing to my heart. And that was really in my face. And boy, I wish I had have made that decision to give my heart a bit of space prior to when I did. But I didn't. And the changes are just incredible. And in regard to after the surgery, I had my surgery on a Friday. I went home on Sunday just after lunch, and the only pain that I woke up with was I had some pain in my shoulder because they put gas into you to, create space for the surgery, and a bit of the gas got caught up in my shoulder joint. So, but that wasn't too bad. I had one of those little, those little buttons for the morphine, so you can self-administer the morphine. I used that once. I pressed that once because my shoulder was a little bit sore. But other than that, I only had Panadol was the only, and I'm a wuss, like it's not like I'm some sort of hero. I'm a real girl when it comes to pain.
If you're a real girl, you wouldn't have needed any pain relief.
They just gave it to me without asking. So,
Richard, I've got some online questions for you.
yeah.
Someone would like to know, is there anything you can't eat? And someone else said, is there anything you miss about food?
The one thing that I can't eat is bread. Bread really does me in. It just sits and it's really uncomfortable. But strange enough, I can eat toast, but not bread, because the bread obviously, sits and absorbs moisture or something, but bread I can't do. Other than that, everything else is, I have found a transition. Cooking is like my favourite hobby, so I'm a real foodie, and I haven't struggled as much as I thought I would, because I've found that I like different things now. My taste has changed a lot now. I love single flavours, whereas I used to like combined flavour. Things like cucumber and tomato. Like I always have a little packet of the little cherry tomatoes, and that's probably my favourite snack. I love snacking on cherry tomatoes and cucumber, like cucumber with, like tzatziki dip or something like that. I love those fresh, sort of whole type flavours now. And I struggle with the soft drink. I can't do soft drink, and it's really, no, I won't go there. What was the other question?
She just said, is there anything you miss about food?
To be honest, I actually miss the preparation of cooking, the process of cooking and stuff. So I tell you, my son eats like a king, because I love cooking and there's not much point cooking much that I want. So I tend to cook more whatever he wants, and I just have a bit of that. So it's like he's got his own personal chef now. But, I don't have, a lot of people think, oh, you can't eat, like curries or hot food. I don't have any issue with any of that sort of stuff, not at all. The only thing that gassy drinks are challenging. I also found early on that I missed big flavours, like flavoursome stuff. And I don't know whether I was allowed to do this or not, but I did. I ended up making sure that I always had a really nice, good quality bottle of white wine in the fridge, because I found that the classy flavour of the wine took the place of what I couldn't have in food. So that's probably all for me. That's what I was with the surgery. I had it on Friday. I went home lunchtime on Sunday, and I live up at Surfers on the beach, and I got up Monday morning, and I was halfway on my normal morning walk at 6:30 in the morning to go up and get my morning coffee. And I stopped and I thought, I've just had 80% of my stomach taken out, on Friday, and here it is Monday, and I'm out having my morning walk. And I thought, that's just surreal. But it seriously is like that. And that's one of the reasons why I really keen to come and speak at something like this, to assure people that seriously, there's no pain or discomfort. If anybody's nervous about surgery, it's just for me, it was just a breathe. And plus we've got I'm probably biased, but I reckon quite possibly the best technician going around, because he's actually one of the pioneers of keyhole surgery of any sort globally. He's just an absolute whiz. The guy he's just incredible.
You're not biased, you're correct.
Yeah. Yes.
What was your weight before the surgery?
I was about 120, just immediately prior to surgery. 126 is the heaviest that I've ever seen on the scales for me. And so, you know, I would sort of be guessing now probably, I reckon I'd be 87.
Do you want us to see?
No. I don't, because I don't want to, my personal thing, I don't want to get distracted by that. You know, so many people get so focused on the weight and what the scales say. It's a great measurement, but as far as I'm concerned, I'm off my medication, and you know, I've got some other personal goals that I want to work on, and my orientation's perhaps different to other people. But it's all about you. Why it is that you want, and don't get distracted by what other people want, think, or intend.
Thank you very much. Those non-scale victories are so much more important, aren't they? You know, those are the lifestyle, the big stories, and the most important things about what you actually gain. I can just say that truly Janine and Richard are reflective of the kinds of stories that we get to hear every day. And it's difficult to actually communicate, you know, to a group of people just actually exploring for the first time that surgery is only one day. It's not the scariest thing in the world that you need to face. It's really just one day of your life, and the potential opportunities are just so vast. One thing that I will mention before I introduce you to our very last and very special speaker, Melanie. Just a few years ago, I became aware of the fact that I had a patient who we'd been looking after for over 10 years, and she shared with me that she'd not only changed her whole lifestyle and her health and all the sorts of things that she was able to achieve in her life, relationships with people, but she'd also transformed her financial health and well-being. And when you're thinking about the investment in yourself, the financial investment that you make to have surgery, don't just think about the health benefits and outcomes, but think about what could that mean to you in terms of financial health and well-being. We had a speaker here last month who said in her first 12 months, not only did she get married and achieve all these amazing milestones, but she also went for a job that she never thought she had the self-confidence to put herself out there for. And so she'd actually actively changed her whole financial position in life as well. So just something to think about. Melanie is a fantastic resource for us to present to you in our clinic, not only in her role as patient relationship officer, but also because she can share with you firsthand her own experience. And we're really fortunate to have covered pretty much all of the procedures that are on offer amongst our staff to be able to assist you from that perspective. Having a staff member who's been there, done that, who can, you know, deal with the food issue that you're having on any given day is also such of high value to you as people coming through our system as one of the professional team members. So have you got time for one more amazing story? Because we'd really like to share Melanie's with you. Please make her welcome.
Good evening, everybody. That was my before photo. That was about 4 years ago now. So I'll tell you a little bit about me. I was a beauty therapist. I had 2 children. I shouldn't say I had, it sounds like I got rid of one. Still got 2 children. Married. My husband had his own business. I had my own business. Busy people. And I was in, I think Janine talked about being a little, you don't sort of see yourself the way that you're actually getting to look. I mean, I was 120 kilos, but sort of justified it with everything I did. I justified everything I ate. So I was one of those people that didn't eat through the day. So I was really busy. So I'd get the kids ready for school and have a snack and whatever I made them for lunch. I'd go all day without working, and then I used to leave work about 3 to get the kids. And I would eat from 3 o'clock until my eyes shut at night, because I thought, oh, well, I haven't eaten all day, so that's okay. So I had it in my head, I don't eat that much. I don't eat that much. When I look back now, just what I was eating from 3 to 9 is now about 3 days worth of food for me. So I've lost 50 kilos since then and maintained it for, as I said, about 4 years now. So I was one of these people that would pick I was a bit of a picker, and I had my main meals too, but I was also a picker. And I didn't count, I mean, I can tell you how many calories are in anything pretty much, like all of you. We've all done all the diets. So, I've done the pineapple diet and the shakes diet and the all carbs and the no carbs and the all protein and the no protein and the Atkins and the vegetables and the, what's that horrible soup one? It's not a good one, that one too, that's that one. So I've done all the diets, always lost weight, always put more back on. So you lose 10, you put 12 back on. You lose 20, you put 25 back on. That was an issue there. And you just can't do those diets forever. The best diet I ever went on was the pineapple diet. You have to have half a pineapple after every meal. So you don't eat much because you've got to have this half a pineapple and it's so acidic. But you can only have half a pineapple every meal for so long. So that was the thing. Dieting wasn't mine. I just thought I can't do it. And I was always an eating bitch when I was on a diet, just cranky. So and I used to see so many people every day. I'm like, oh, I can't do that. I'm too busy. I'm too busy with the kids. And I'm busy with work. And when Lucy talked about loving yourself, I said that's something if I never allowed time for myself. So I had my clients, and then I had the kids, and I had the husband. I did his book work, and then I was on PNC at school. So I was so busy doing everything for everyone else. And I would actually feel a bit guilty if I ever did anything for myself. Like, I want to go and get my hair done. I'm like, oh, come on, I don't have 2 hours spare. So that loving yourself thing, I didn't actually realise when I took a bit of time for myself how much it was going to change my life. I would leave work and I'd go straight through Zaraffa's. I'm amazed they're in business because I don't drink much there anymore. And I would get the biggest drink they have, which was a grande, and I would have a white chocolate mocha. So it was on full cream milk, it was coffee, it had white chocolate syrup in it, cream on top, and some sprinkles. And I liked a sugar in my coffee, and because it was so big, I had to have 3. And I would have one of those nearly every single afternoon. And my kids do a lot of sport, but I didn't count that because that was from the drive-through on the way home. So you don't count that. When I take my kids to sport, I haven't eaten all day, I'll get a coffee. And I'd get another one of those suckers. So that now is probably 3 or 4 days worth of calories for me in one of those drinks. And I would have one of those nearly every day. Then I'd get home, I'm like, I'm starving, I haven't eaten all day. So then I'd have something to eat. Sometimes I'd, if I had 10 minutes spare, I was a bit early after I'd done Zaraffa's, and I'd go through Macca's and I'd get myself a cheeseburger. Cheeseburger is not really a meal, it's a snack. So I'd have one of those too. And if you don't, if you get rid of the paper, then it doesn't count either. So then I'd get home and say to the kids, do you need a snack? Oh, I haven't eaten all day, I have a snack. So I was just in denial about what I was eating. And then when I would prepare the meal, I would eat as I was preparing the meal. I look at equivalent to my meal now. If I had chops and vegetables, I would have a little sort of cutlet chop thing and a little bit of vegetables. I would eat that just while I was getting dinner ready. So I didn't want to serve up food that I didn't know if it tasted good. So I'd have a taste of everything. So, and if anyone left anything on their plate, again, I used to treat myself as the bin. If we ever had leftovers on the plate, I never went into the bin, I went straight into my mouth. So as I was taking those plates off the table, and the kids were like, I'll clear the table, I'll go and clear the table, because that's mine. Whatever was there was mine. I just never felt satisfied. And I'd get to the point of being sick, going, oh, I'm a bit sick, I shouldn't have eaten all those vegetables. Now I feel like some ice cream. I just never knew what I felt like. I'd have some ice cream and go, I want something crunchy. So I'd have some chips. I just feel like something else. Maybe something sweet, have some chocolate. Then I'd have some chocolate. I was just constantly looking in the cupboards, looking in the fridge, going, what is it? What will make me satisfied? And that is the hugest life change I've noticed since having the procedure. If I feel like a chocolate biscuit now, I have a chocolate biscuit. To me, once upon a time, a Tim Tam meant the whole package. When I sort of read the calories, and I looked on the back and it used to say calories per serve and calories per packet. I'm like, isn't the whole packet a serve? Who just has a couple of these things? You always have the whole packet. That's the thing. If I want one now, I have just one. So it's not about eliminating foods from your diet. Someone online was asking me about that as well. It's just getting the portions into control and satisfying that. What do I feel like? I feel like this, I'll have that type thing. So that's the main thing. How I came to a seminar, unlike yourselves, I probably wasn't this brave. My auntie was coming to a seminar and she saw from my picture, 120 kilos, big eater. She asked me to come with her in case she got lost, which was her nice way of being well-mannered and not telling me that I could certainly deal with this too. So I'd heard all the horror stories, probably like a lot of you, and I didn't know much about weight loss surgery. I'd seen something on Dr. Phil about some man who was trapped in his house and they brought him out and got him weight loss surgery. I'm like, yeah, that's it, that's for. Didn't think it was just for average people like us who just can't control their weight. So I listened to heard what they had to say at the seminar, and I could not get to that counter quick enough at the end of it. I hadn't even thought about surgery I got home, my husband was like, oh, how'd your auntie go? I went, good, I'm getting blah, blah, blah. He was like, what? So I thought, that's it for me. I've tried everything. I've done everything. I think this is the thing for me. I've said to people, I just feel like we're all programmed differently. I just don't have a handbrake. I don't have that internal handbrake that pulls me up when I've had enough. To me, when I was full, meant when I felt really sick, that was the feeling of full, which I've realised now is really different. Same with the feeling of hunger. When I first had the procedure, the first few weeks you get that gurgly feeling in the stomach, like, oh, I don't think I'm well. I was just hungry. I just used to eat that damn much. I never let myself get, other proper feelings of hunger. So the feeling of full and hungry are very, very different. And that's it, that thing with I want one biscuit. When I have one biscuit now, you go to have that second one, it's like, so you've just got that little break that pulls you up and says, it's enough, you don't need that. So it's a thing about, a lot of people say, do you tell or do you not tell? Do you tell? They don't want to tell people. I didn't want to tell people when I first had it done. I actually thought, oh, I failed with every other diet I've done. I'll go, yeah, here she goes on another one. And I started to tell every man and his dog at first, guess what I'm having done? And you get those haters or the people who, like me, don't know about surgery. Oh, I saw something, or my friend's brother's uncle's butcher up the road had that and he died. It's like, oh my God. So I heard a lot of negativity. Oh, I've seen something on Today Tonight about a lady who only eats chicken wings. I was like, oh, I really want to eat chicken wings. And I was really concerned about those sorts of things. That I'd heard the information, so I thought, no, I'm confident having this done. So I just stopped telling people. In the end, I thought, no, I'm pretty happy about it. My husband wasn't all that supportive to start with. He said, yeah, we don't want you to die. I don't care about the way you look. I love you the way you are. Lovely thing to say, but he's a tall, thin athlete. So he wasn't sort of walking in my shoes. That's why I said to him, you don't understand when you take the kids to a theme park and you can't go on the rides because you're terrified it's going to be too big to get off. Or our daughter always wanted to go horse riding. I always said to her, no, I hate horses. I was just terrified of getting there. And they're like, lady, you are not getting on a horse. So I wouldn't take a horse riding. Or when school, when they're in prep and they pull out those teeny weeny little seats for the mum and dads to sit on, I was like, oh, I've got a bad knee. I'm not sitting on that seat. There's all little things like that unless you've been big, people don't understand those things. They really don't. And that's what I said to him. You haven't walked in my shoes. You have no idea. And the first thing you do when you walk into a restaurant, most people look at the menu. First thing I used to do when I walked into a restaurant was look at the chairs. I thought, are you going to hold me? Do you have arms? Because you couldn't get into a chair with arms. All those plastic chairs that they bring out at barbecues, they are a big person's nightmare because those ones break. They're terrifying. They really are. So it's little things like that, and I think people don't understand. And I always say to the girls, like, you have that a few people, oh, that's the cheap's way out, or that's the easy way out. Firstly, there is nothing easy about being overweight. And I said, well, modern day, we've got these modern day things to help us now and make our life easier. So if you've got a washing machine, then that's the easy way out. You should be going down to the river and banging your clothes against the rock. There is no different. It's just something to help me make my life a little bit easier. So don't ever let anyone say that to you. And if you choose to tell or not to tell, that's your own prerogative. After I started losing weight, and a lady coming to read book with me one day, she rubbed me on the shoulder and said, will I see you next time? Yes. Are you sure? Yes. She said, are you okay? Oh, you think I'm dying or I'm like terminally ill or something, don't you? She said, yes, you're fading away. I went, oh, I had weight loss surgery. Oh, okay. So, yes, in the end, I decided to tell because I think people thought I was sick because I was getting smaller and smaller. So that's when clearly it was working, so I was happy to tell people then. But whether you tell or not tell, that's your own personal opinion. The good thing about this clinic is there's lots of people to talk to here. We can put you in contact. We have support groups and Facebook pages, and you've got your psychologist, your dietitian, your nurse, myself. There's lots of people here to talk to. So at first, if you don't want to tell anyone and you've got little questions or things you want to ask, there's lots of support here and lots of people you can talk to here. So,
excuse me, Melanie, we have a question online, please. Jason would like to know, what do you eat on an average for dinner now?
Yeah, average day. I'm not a big breakfast eater still. Some of the things that everyone else was saying they can't tolerate anymore. I do not have that coffee anymore. I have a soy now because I actually don't particularly like milk anymore. I have a soy, the smallest one they do, a soy cappuccino because a latte is even too milky for me, and I ask for an extra shot of water. That's it. So that's what I've replaced that fella with, is with that one. So average day, I'll have half a protein bar on the way to work as my breakfast, or I have one when I get here with a cup of tea. I normally have half a protein bar because one is just too filling. Or I make myself little protein balls, which are fantastic. I normally have 2 of those and a cup of tea for breakfast. sort of while I'm out and about. Lunchtime, average is 2 rice crackers with some avocado and turkey on them, half a wrap, half a salad wrap. I can have a sandwich, I can have bread, but I wouldn't have the crust. Not that I don't like crust. I make my kids eat the crust. It fills me up too much. It also depends what's on the sandwich. If it was ham and salad, half, crust off. That would be it. Vegemite and cheese, I have about 3/4. I still can't quite have that a full sandwich. Always have a snack in afternoons and mornings because again you're having small amounts of food, so you need to add those snacks in. So in the afternoon it'll be a handful of nuts. If I'm being naughty, a little piece of chocolate biscuit and a cup of coffee again. So and then dinner time is basically whatever my family's having. If they're having pasta, I'm not big on pasta. I find that fills me up too much. The other night we had spaghetti and meatballs, and I just had the meatballs with the Napoli sauce. I didn't have any of the pasta. I didn't want that. I've had salmon and vegetables, salad. I have a fair bit of salad, chicken. So yeah, pretty much what the family has. Even if they had sausages, again, not a fan of, but I can't quite have a full sausage. Once upon a time it used to be 3, but I can't quite have a full sausage now. So whatever they have, I pretty much have what everyone else in the family has. I don't make a special meal. My family love lasagna. I make up a big thing of lasagna, and I just have a tiny little piece of it and salad on the side because again, it just fills you up so quickly. You tend to choose foods differently, and I'm still a guts. That hasn't changed. That part of my brain has not changed. I still dish myself up too much food pretty much every single night, 4 years out. It's just my head, because if I actually put on the plate what I do eat, it just looks really stupid. So I just put a bit more food on there. I even have taken to putting my food on a bread and butter plate, because again, you bring out everyone's meals and you bring yours out with this big plate. It's like you're at a very posh restaurant with this tiny little amount of food on it. So I just tend to put it on a bread and butter plate. So because the amount, but again, that's my head. I always think I'm going to have that full sausage tonight. I'm doing it. I'm doing the sausage. I never finish it. And my dog sits there and she's just getting fatter and fatter. So going out was another big thing for me. I thought I'll never be able to go out and have dinner again. You can definitely go out. I don't think many people have addressed alcohol. That's normally one of the first questions we ask. Can you still have a drink? So yes, you can. When we go out, I like to have a wine as well. So the first thing I do when we get out is have a wine. So that way, while everyone's looking at the menu or working out what they're going to do or whatever, mine's pretty easy. I just look at the entrees and pick one. I can have a wine then. Then when they bring the entrees, I ask my entree to come with the main. I don't have anything. I'm normally still sipping on my wine. I have my entree when everyone else has their mains. And then at the end, when everyone's having dessert, I could have another wine. I won't always finish it, but I can have a second one if I want to. So you can still eat out. You can't eat and drink at the same time. I don't know if anyone talked about that or Peter addressed that one. That's a sneaky one for beginners. You cannot eat and drink at the same time. It has 2 effects. The minority make extra food slip through. The majority have the volcano effect. I'm sure you can all work out what that is, and it's not nice. So you learn that one quickly. It's a habit that I still to this day, when I'm having my dinner, I go like that and reach out for a glass. I don't think I'm thirsty, it's just a habit. When I was young, we had a big glass of milk, normally with Milo in it, when you had dinner. So we just always had a big something to drink. If it wasn't milk, it was cordial. So that's what we would have with our dinner, and that's just the way I was brought up, so I did it myself as an adult. So now I don't have anything. I'll have water there. If you need a sip and you're thirsty, have a sip of water. But you'll find that it just fills the space up too much as well. That's why you tend to choose differently. I was talking before about the hot chips thing. I always say that's one of my favourite. When you can choose, I'm still a gut. So if I can have 6 or 7 hot chips or half a piece of fish and salad, I'm going with fish and salad because I get more. So you just tend to choose your food a bit differently, and also what you need. That is the good thing about having a dietitian. I thought, what do I have to see a dietitian for? If I could do what a dietitian told me, I wouldn't be this fat. But they're not about, as he says, being the food police. He looks at, like they look at now, what do you need to keep you going? I do a fair bit of exercise now. I'm competing in the mud rush recently and things like that. So I need more protein. Or when I'm not losing weight or I'm getting a bit, they look at what you're eating, not for losing weight or to put you on a diet. What does your body need now? You go, oh, look, I can't stomach milk or anything like that anymore. Okay, getting no dairy, what do we need to do? So they're good things. Keep up your appointments with your dietitian over that time. Same with visiting Warren as well. A lot of people come in, they say, I'm still a fat person in my head. So that's something we need to really address as well, because that's hard, going to a normal section for quite a few months, or many, after I'd had my surgery. I was still shopping in the big person section. And they'd say, we have nothing here for you. And I'm like, I'm used to being told that in the little person section, but when you get into that big section, they say, we don't have anything to fit you. I was like, you don't have anything to fit me? Oh my God, I'm going to be naked. This is the only place I can shop. You're just not used to that. Or even when people look, I always used to think people were watching what I ate. They probably weren't, I was just paranoid. If we're in a food court or something, like, they're all watching me, thinking you shouldn't be eating that. And I still to this day think people are looking at what I'm eating, should I be eating that? So they're little things. I remember one thing Warren said to me was, have to go home and throw out everything that doesn't fit. I'm like, are you crazy, man? You seen a woman's wardrobe? Like most of you, I had the sections in my wardrobe of the things that were never going to fit, but they cost a lot of money, the things I wish would fit, things that really fit, and the things when I had a sort of bad day. So, and he's telling me to throw away all these clothes. I'm like, no, why? He said, it's really liberating. You're never going to need them again. And it took me about a year to eventually throw out a lot of those big clothes. It's like, yeah, you're right. I am never, ever going to go back there again. Even if my weight fluctuates now, which it does about 2 or 3 kilos, I'm certainly not going back to size 22. So little things like that, that they help you move forward, take that next step forward to be the new person basically that you are. And when we're talking about relationships before, I know what you mean. It was really difficult. My husband's an athlete, does a lot of sport. I stopped going to watch him. I told him I was sick of it after 20 years. I was just really embarrassed. I thought they would look at him as an athlete and look at me and go, how does that work out for you? I was just really embarrassed. Same with things at school as well now. I was like president of PNC and all the rest of it. But I'd gotten to the point, I'm like, I'm not doing this anymore because I was just embarrassed. I thought I don't want the kids to have to go, oh, there's your fat mum or that type of thing. Little things like that that had really gotten to me and affected, the family. Whenever we'd have an event, it was always food. Oh, come to my place for lunch or for dinner. It wasn't come over for a swim or let's all meet down the beach. I had to be around food because that was what we based everything around. Everything was around food. It's amazing how liberating and how much more confidence you've got when you just feel a little bit better in yourself. And it's not about the way you look, or I think it's the way people judge you as well. And you do, just having that little bit more confidence going, well, I'm comfortable to do this or make this decision or even speak up for myself. If someone would ever push in front of me in a line, it's like, now I'm like, excuse me. You just feel a little more confident to make those decisions. So definitely affects your relationship. As I said to you, my husband was not a supporter at first, and now he offends multiple people. And with the big people in the shop, he goes, I'm going up to tell them and to give them a card and to say, come and talk to my wife. I'm like, no. Trust me, they won't thank you. He thinks he's doing them a favour and saving lives. He's just, really annoying lots of people. But no, he's the biggest fan now, and he's all for it because he's seen the change in me and how much more I do. As I said, I competed in the mud rush. And not only would I not walk on grass without shoes at one stage, I worked in running, and I was like, I would only run if someone was chasing me with a knife. I saw no reason to run and no joy in running. I'm like, why do people run? Unless you've been chased, I don't see why you run. But I competed in this with a bunch of friends. Not only was it running, it was obstacles. You had to get down in the mud and climb. And it was just such an accomplishment. And I wore my medal to work for a few days, and I felt like I'd won the goddamn Olympics when you come over that line and they put this little medal around your neck. And my husband has walls, and we have a trophy room in our house, a whole trophy room. I don't have anything in there. I do now. I have this little mud rush medal, which my husband told me he was going to have mounted because all his Australian titles are mounted on the wall. He's like, I'm going to have that mounted on the wall. I'm like, you should. It was just such an accomplishment for me to do something like that and finish. I didn't care if I come last, but I never, ever would have had the confidence to do anything like that before. Was it really enjoyable? No, it was really hard. But I felt really great that I did it and that I was able to do it. So little things like that, I think, all your non-scale victories, it's not always about the numbers. They're pretty good, but it's not always about the numbers. It's going to school, not worrying about breaking your chair, taking your kids somewhere, not thinking all the other kids are going to tease them when you leave. So it's little things like that. People don't know they haven't been in this situation. So any questions about anything, or think I've addressed what I eat? That's a common one. People say, what do you eat? Or can you drink alcohol? They're normally the two things. Anything else? Fantastic. Great. Thank you. Thank you very much.
How's everyone feeling? Do you feel as though you've got a lot of information tonight? Hopefully more than you'd actually bargained for, because I think between the 3 patients who've shared their stories tonight and having Kirk here as well to present his new self to you, what a great combination of stories. And I really love the fact that there's been a lot of love in this room tonight, and I'm so happy that we named this information session Love Yourself and Lose Weight Forever. It seems to be really perfect given the stories we've heard tonight. So just coming back to those things that you wrote on that piece of paper right at the beginning and the things that you'd like to see in yourself, can you actually visualize those things happening for yourself now? Are those things that you can see are achievable? Because they truly are. And you've got the most wonderful team of people who will support you no matter what through this journey. I absolutely recommend you to our team. They'll be there for you through whatever it is, and they're there to guide you and support you. Thank you so much for coming along tonight. Also, just will mention Skype is a big feature that we encourage you to get involved with for your consultation so that you never have a reason to not connect with the team. I know a lot of people travel from a distance and it's hard to always get here for appointments, so Skype and phone consults are really a good way to space out in between your face-to-face visits, and great for all of our distance patients as well. We might be based here in Varsity Lakes, but our patients actually come from not just all over Queensland, but all over Australia. And thank you to all of our online viewers tonight. We really appreciate your company as well and hope to see you in our clinic. I know we had one lady here just last week from Gundawindi, and she'd watched the previous webinar. And so when she walked into the room, she said she just felt that sense of, made her feel a lot more comfortable, not just with the environment and where she was going, but she actually already felt like she knew the people. So the people who watched the webinar, it's funny, they come in here and they feel like they know us because they've seen us online. And it's funny, Warren might have referred to seminars years ago when we used to have very busy full auditoriums, but little does he know he's actually already had 60 pairs of eyes watching him tonight. And that's the power of being able to have a webinar of this nature to communicate and educate so many more people from remote locations. So it's such a great system, and we're very grateful to be able to present to you as well. We'll still all be here. If you've got questions, please don't hesitate to come and ask us. Our computers are still open. If you're feeling like this is your moment in time, we would love to help you. You're more than welcome to make your consultations. If you're here from a distance and you've got a long way to travel, we're more than happy to try and organise appointments so that you can do them all in one day. We also do help you with finance as well. So if you are self-funding and that's a big question for you, how do you go about accessing your super? We're more than happy to help. We see it as a really valuable way to be able to access surgery. Do it because it's such a great way to not tap into your day-to-day budget, but to be able to access surgery now. I think it's a great system and we love to help you through that. Any other questions, please come and ask, and thank you once again for being here tonight.
No worries.
Yeah.
Great example is he?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, and a great influence.
And he came down just on his own just to support us.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
No, he's a good man.
If I'd known he was coming, I would have made sure he was a highlight speaker.
Nah,
You know,
that's
get him
all right.
back here. We love him to speak.
Good.
It's great. Make appointments. Would you like to do it?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, I'm happy to
Please.
help. I can do it for you in my office if you like. That's sort of